again. Let me scoot in a little closer. Welcome to our final Ask the Pattern Team Live video. Thank you for joining us through all these videos. Oh, you got it?
No, I didn't do that right. Can you hold that up again? Sorry, everybody. I'm like this. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. Everybody knows our camera issues.
Oh yeah. So anyways, today is our final Ask the Pattern Team Live video, and today's topic is E-stitching, specifically E-stitching that you would find in deep V-necks. For example, this is our Clark tank top that came out in July. It has a very deep V-neck in the front and in the back. And E-stitching is a very important step for making sure you have a very nice neckline that lays as it should without gaping. E-stitching has two important qualities. The first one is it's like a more powerful stay stitch. Because you use a very short stitch length, it keeps it nice and tight, especially in later steps when you're tugging the tank top, when you're sewing the straps together. The E-stitching really helps keep everything as it should without kind of stretching out during the tugging that you'll need to do later. And then the second important thing is that it just kind of helps with the turn of cloth, so then that way it wants to more roll in rather than gape outwards. All right, so let's get started. The most important thing you can do, you need to test. Everyone's machine is going to be different. Everyone's fabric will be a little different too. So I would recommend starting with a stitch length of 2. And then test and see, maybe you need to go up a little more than that or a little down. On this Bernina, I found that a 1.8 works really well, but my brother at home, I found a stitch length of 2 works well. So play around, see what works for you and your fabric you're using. And try and use a fabric scrap that is either the fabric you'll be making your garment out of or is at least really similar, so that way you're not using 2 different things and then wind up needing a different stitch length. So after you've tested, let's get started and I'll show you how it's done. All right, turning the sewing machine on. So like I said, start with a small stitch length. Start with 2 and then go from there. I already know that a 1.8 works well. So that's what I changed it to for the stitch length. And then here's my pattern piece. Here's the shoulder and here's the center front. Just go and start up here. We'll do about a quarter seam allowance. No need to backstitch. These stitches are going to be very tight. They're not going anywhere, and they live in the seam allowance, so you're just ready to start stitching. Okay, so start sewing, and as the fabric comes out of the presser foot, you'll want to keep your finger there so the fabric... Oh,
View of this.
Got a good angle?
Hold on, I'm going to go around.
Yeah, go around me. All right.
Yes, here we go.
So the point of keeping your finger back here is to keep the fabric bunching and keep those stitches tight instead of it coming out flat and wanting to stretch out more. So you just kind of do this, keeping your finger back here. It's bunching the fabric a bit. And you just keep going. Now, it's totally fine if you need to lift your finger up and give it a little space and room and then start rebunching again. I personally do it about 2 or 3 times for a neckline like this. Depending on the length or the size you're making, maybe you'll do it more or less, but know that it's fine. You don't have to have it bunched up the entire time that you are doing these E-stitches.
Oh yeah, when I did it, I didn't rebunch the whole thing. I just lifted my finger up and put it back down and started at a new spot. There's a couple different ways.
Yeah,
There's one way to skin a cat.
A lot of it can be personal preference, but really, like I said, it's just important to test. So just see what works well for you and gets the results you like best. So yeah, I'll just kind of keep going here. If you're joining us, we're going over E-stitching, used in deep V-neck necklines. Go a bit. Pivot here at the center front. All right, and here's another important part. when you're taking your fabric off, go ahead and just snip the threads rather than pulling it and going over the knife, because that could flatten out your stitches possibly. So keep it safe and do it that way. All right, now we have some ease stitching.
Excellent.
So what you don't want are gathers or puckers, and you also don't want it totally flat. This one did come out a little flatter than I probably intended to, but if you look up close, you'll see that there's a little bit of a ripple happening around here. That's kind of what we're looking for, a little bit of tension, but not enough where it's gathered or puckered. If you have got gathers and puckers, you might be able to use your fingers to kind of disperse them out a bit, or you could take them out, but of course with such a small stitch length, that would be a bit of a pain. I understand. But yeah, you just want a little bit of tension, a small ripple or so, and yeah, and then we got our tight little stitches here. So again, this helps keep the shape nice and together without stretching out. This is important too if you're cutting on the bias. Our Clark tank has that option, but also just for how the grain lines up. This is a very sensitive area, I guess, that's really prone to stretching out. And yeah, and then it'll just kind of help with the turn of cloth, keep your neckline from gaping, because no one wants a gaping neckline. Yeah, and that's ease stitching for you. I recommend doing it on any V-neck you may have, whether it's just in the front or the back. You could do it on the armhole of a facing, like either or. It's an important step. I personally made some Clark tanks before the pattern came out. I made like 3 or 4 of them, and one of them I rushed through and I just did a simple stay stitch, and that one actually gaped quite a bit, so I wasn't really able to wear it in the end. So don't be like me. Make sure to take these steps. It's very important. So yeah, any questions on ease stitching so far?
Not yet.
Nothing yet? Well, that's
Not
fine
yet.
too. In the meantime, let me say thank you from all of us here at the Pattern Team. Thank you for watching and engaging in our live videos. It was kind of a little experiment for us, and it's been really fun to engage with you guys and just do these quick little tiny videos. So thank you very much for watching.
Here, why don't we switch? Let me do the other sheet, the other one.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, I hit the thing.
Yeah.
The way I've done it, and see if we get a different result. Hi,
Yeah.
everybody. Oh, I'm gonna take my hair out. I think when I did it on my home computer, I don't even think I changed my stitch length.
Oh, really?
I think I did a 2.5, but I got more gathering than you did, and I'm wondering if that's because I didn't do enough testing, or I didn't, because like I said, I did the finger holding wrong, or different. So I'm wondering if the way I did it caused more gathering than the way you did it. So let's see.
Oh,
So what?
yeah,
go ahead.
Alyssa, or Elisa. So she wanted to know the difference between ease stitching and stay stitching. So with stay stitching, we do that to help keep the shape of, like, say, a neckline or a waistline. But ease stitching uses a much shorter stitch length, and that gives us a stronger stay stitch. For something like a deep V-neck, it'll help keep this shape a little better, especially if you're doing the burrito method or something where it involves kind of tugging at the garment. Our Clark tank top, for example, you have to tug it a bit when you're sewing the straps. And this is just a little extra help for keeping the shape. It also helps the turn of cloth, so that way you will have less gaping. Well, yours turned out rather flat from the looks of it.
Yeah, it is pretty flat, but it's not stretched out. I wonder if it has to do with being the crepe. I wonder
That's a good point.
if we just I'm going to just take this piece of muslin and see if we get a different result.
Oh, yeah.
A little
Like
wrinkle.
I said, it's always important to test. Everyone's machine is different, and fabric is also can be a big factor. So always test beforehand, so you don't kick yourself later.
Mock Clark tank top. So let's see if the muslin makes it different. I upped the stitch length just to see if we got a different result, and I didn't really see much of a difference. So let's see. Maybe this machine is just different from mine too, or tension or something like that.
Yeah, I found I needed a lower one with this one compared to my brother's sewing machine at home. That got this only. So as you can see, she's holding her finger behind the presser foot. That helps keep the stitches from flattening out, keeps them nice and tight.
Let's go down a bit and see.
Oh yeah. So she went down to a 1.7.
Just experimenting.
Yeah, this will be a good way to show the difference too.
That's where it was good already. Yeah, about the same result.
All right.
It's not stretched out, but it's not eased in as much as I thought it would be. But I only, experimented a little bit. But it's not stretched out, and that's kind of huge, because a regular stay stitch on a sort of a bias cut angle here could really stretch out, and that kind of defeats the whole point of a stay stitch. So the ease stitching just helps it not get stretched out. And that's it. Again, as Chelsea said, thank you everybody so much for joining us for these Pattern Team Live videos. It was a really fun experiment that we did. This will be the last one, unless we have some great questions come in. We might do a couple here and there, but not on a regular basis. So if you do have any questions, anything you really want us to demonstrate, head to the community at seamwork.com and ask us some questions, and we'll see what we can put together for you.
Yeah, I'll also quickly mention that we are archiving our Ask the Pattern Team thread, but you can still read it. But yeah, if you have any questions for us, we're always here to help. Just ask in our Seamwork thread on our community, and we'll be there for you.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Happy sewing!